After 9 years in the US, I just moved back home to Germany, and the number one question in the comments has been, why? So let me answer this once and for all and put an end to all the rumors and speculations. Hallo, Servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I just moved back to my hometown, which is Munich, Germany. But for the last 9 years, I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the United States. In case you missed the news about our move last month, and by we, I mean my husband Ben, our 2 cats, and me, we made several videos about the move, including one where we talked about everything we had to prepare and the logistics of it all, and one where we filmed the actual moving day. I'll link all moving videos down below for you guys in case you missed them. Now, if you're someone who watches every single one of my videos, you're probably thinking, huh? Hasn't she already explained the reason for the move? And you would be right, but I just keep getting questions about it all across my platforms. And a lot of people are even spreading rumors or speculations about our reasons in the comment sections. Now, I do understand why people would think that we left the US for political reasons when these are some of the biggest news stories from the last couple of weeks alone. It truly seems like every day there's a new major story or scandal happening in the US to a point where it almost feels impossible to keep up with the news cycle. I mean, most of us don't have the time or the mental capacity to stay 100% up to date, make sense of it all, and look at all the different angles. Which is why I love having ground news on my phone, because it gives me a great overview of what's been happening, how the 2 sides of the aisle have reported about it, and it gives me these little summaries at the top of each news story, alongside all of the individual articles, which allows me to either just get a quick overview or dive in deeper if I want to. This also allows me to compare the different narratives that are put out. Like for this news story about the leaked text messages by the Young Republicans, we see headlines like this one on the left side: Vance jumps to defense of young boys aged 24 to 35 who praised Hitler in GOP group chat. While more right-leaning outlets had headlines like, JD Vance's response to Politico's article about a GOP group chat was perfect. So you can really see the difference here. And because transparency is more important than ever in today's media landscape, Ground News always shows you who the respective outlet is owned by, where they generally lean politically, and how factually accurate their reporting is overall. I also find it fascinating to look at the bias distribution and see how many outlets on the left, right, and center have even covered a specific topic. Like this story about the No Kings protests in the US last weekend. Out of over 600 sources that are summarized here, only 19% of the outlets were leaning to the right, while left-leaning and center outlets covered the story a lot more. That's also why I love the blind spot feed on Ground News, because it specifically shows news stories that had little to no coverage on one side of the political spectrum and are therefore a blind spot topic to people who only consume media from that side. If we all live in our little echo chambers and don't even get the same information anymore, that truly doesn't help anyone. Ground News is a great way to find your way through the news jungle, and if you scan my QR code or go to ground.news/Feli, you can now save 40% on the Vantage plan for Ground News. That's the subscription I have too. You can use it as an app on your phone, on your browser, or even as a browser extension for when you're reading news somewhere else. So be sure to take advantage of that offer right here to stay informed without the headache, and a big shout out to Ground News for partnering with me on this video. But is the political situation in the US the reason why Ben and I moved abroad? Not really. And I think those of you who followed me for a while know this too, because I've always said that I don't plan on staying in the US forever. I mean, I never moved abroad because I didn't like Germany as a country or was looking for a better life or anything like that. My life in Germany was great and I have amazing family and friends here. I went to the US for a study abroad because it's a great way to widen your horizons, and I enjoyed my time in the US a lot more than anticipated, so I ended up looking for ways to come back to the US after the study abroad, and it felt like a great place for me during my 20s. But I never actually planned on staying for 9 whole years. I always took it day by day, or, after a while it was more like year by year, but I always knew that I wanted to move back to Germany at least for a little while to be close to my home again and to be able to be there for all of these little things that I had missed over the years. You just miss so many birthdays and holidays and family get-togethers and children being born and so on. I didn't want it to be like that for the rest of my life. And when Ben and I met, one of the first things he asked me was if we could ever move to Europe together. I mean, I think at the time it was more like a casual thought he was putting out there, but he had always wanted to live in Europe at some point. So, that kind of aligned between the two of us anyways. And even though he knew that that's something he wanted to do in his lifetime, he'd never even been outside of the US when we first met. Another aspect was that through the course of our relationship, we also, of course, talked a lot about culture and language, and we both agreed that it's important for both partners to speak each other's native language in order to fully understand one another and also each other's culture. And we know that if we ever have kids, we want them to grow up bilingually and ideally get to know both cultures and both countries. So pretty early on in our relationship, we started talking about moving to Germany together for a while to experience that together, and also to get a bunch of travel in. Because Ben did end up traveling outside of the US shortly after we first met, and we visited Germany about 7 times together before this move. And during some of those trips, we also visited other countries such as Austria, Italy, Greece. We even went on a trip to Egypt from Munich last year. But it was always a little stressful to squeeze in the time with my friends and family in Munich, and then also go on a whole Italy trip all within a few weeks. So we thought it would make a lot of sense to be located here in Germany for a while, to be able to go to all of these places that Ben has always wanted to visit. And there's still so much for me to see as well. And that way we can go to those places one by one without it being super stressful. For a while, we kept saying that we should move to Germany before we're 30 so that we can get all of that traveling in before we ever have kids and all of that. Disclaimer, we're both 31 now, so we didn't quite make the deadline, but hey, we're here now. Now, another question I get a lot is, why are we only moving to Germany for a year? Why not permanently? And I think I already answered a lot of that in what I just told you, but yeah, basically, we don't think that one country is 100% better than the other. Both Germany and the US are great countries and have so much to offer, and both countries have a long list of pros and cons. There are things we like better about the US, and there are things we like better about Germany, and it'll always be like that. A lot of people who move abroad during their lifetime say that it's a blessing and a curse because on the one hand, you end up having 2 countries and 2 cultures you call home, which is beautiful. But at the same time, you'll also always miss certain things about your other home. And there's a lot of truth to that if you ask me. So we've always said that our ideal life would probably consist of literally spending half of our time in the US and the other half in Germany and basically move back and forth all the time. But of course, that's not exactly easy to do logistically, especially with children. So long story short, we decided to move to Germany for a year to kind of test the waters. We didn't want to give up our entire life in the US, so we didn't sell our house. We just rented it out for now. We put most of our stuff in storage instead of selling it all. But if we end up enjoying our time in Germany a lot, we might stay longer than a year. Who knows? I know that's not an approach that's right for everyone, but I personally love going about things this way and leaving your options open because you simply can't predict how you'll feel in the future. You don't know what's going to happen in life, which opportunities will arise, and what your gut will tell you. I only came to the US for a 5-month exchange semester, and it ended up turning into 9 years, but I think I also enjoyed it so much because I knew that I could go back at any given time, which is a huge privilege, of course. And for a move to Germany, we wanted to create that same option. I mean, we're both excited to be here right now, but we truly don't know how we'll feel about living here long term. I mean, Ben has never lived abroad before, and even I haven't fully lived in Germany since my early 20s. So we might end up missing the US like crazy. We might become depressed about the weather here. We might end up hating the German mentality after a while. I mean, you truly never know. I personally do think, though, that you tend to be a little more open-minded and easygoing about your new home if it doesn't feel like you're trapped there now. Like, I don't know if I would have enjoyed my first move to the US as much as I did did if I had known that it was gonna be permanent. I always looked at it as, I'm gonna be back home in a few months anyway. And I think knowing that is what let me embrace a lot of things a lot more. Again, I'm sure that doesn't apply to everyone, but that's definitely how it was for me. If you feel like there's no way to go back home, you might cling on to your old life a lot more and be a lot more critical of that new environment you find yourself in. So I think that going to Germany for a year is perfect for us right now because it'll give us time to evaluate things. And if, let's say, 6 months in, we both feel miserable here, or even if it's just one of us, we will know that it'll only be 6 more months to go until we can go back to our old lives and it won't feel like this hopeless situation we're trapped in. But again, if we're having the best time here and want to stay a little longer, we can always do that too. Okay, so going back to the timing of our move, I've gotten a few messages here and there of people saying, why the sudden move? I thought you loved living in the US. And as I explained earlier, this was actually not sudden at all. We even talked about these plans here on YouTube in a video from over 3 years ago.
I 100% want to live in Germany one day.
We do have a plan of living in Germany at some point in the next few years, but then year after year went by and we still hadn't moved to Germany. So I think it was at the end of 2023, maybe early 2024, that we decided that we just need to set a date for ourselves because we didn't have any deadline to come here really. There was no visa that was expiring or a job contract with a specific start date waiting for us. So we decided that we just need to set a date for ourselves in order to actually follow through with it. And that's when we said, okay, 2025 will be the year that we move to Germany. And then at the beginning of this year, we told people in our personal lives about our plans and also announced it here on YouTube, partly to hold ourselves accountable to actually follow through with it, and here we are. So we did plan this way before the 2024 elections took place and before the inauguration earlier this year. And in our case, politics weren't the underlying reason for a move. We would have done this either way. That being said, as the year progressed in the US, and especially with me being an immigrant, we kept thinking to ourselves that we're very happy about the timing of our move. I don't think we would have moved just due to politics right now. I mean, that's a pretty big decision if you have no other reason to move abroad, but we're not mad about how the timing played out, if that makes sense. Last but not least, because I'm really trying to answer all the questions I've been getting about this topic, let's talk about my citizenship. A lot of people keep asking me why I got my American citizenship last year just to move to Germany a few months later. And I did actually answer that in my video about my naturalization process. I'll link that up here and in the video description for you. But being an American citizen actually makes it a lot easier for me to do this year abroad, if you will, because as a green card holder, you're not usually allowed to live outside of the US for more than 6 months without losing your status. But as a citizen, you can absolutely do that and then come back to the US in the future without any problems. So that's why I got my citizenship as soon as I was eligible for it last year. And as most of you know, I didn't give up my German citizenship either. I am now a dual citizen. But I mean, also, I have a house in the US. I founded a business in the US. That's where I built my entire YouTube channel over the last few years. I've paid taxes there for all of my adult life, basically. I got married in the US. I have my in-laws in the US. My kids are gonna be German American. Germany is my home, but the US is my home too. And having my US citizenship, even though I currently live in Germany, is important to me. Otherwise, if I had to give up my green card for living abroad, I would, on paper, become a stranger again in the country I call my home. That would just feel wrong. And I know that a lot of people actually are in that situation, where the US is their home, often their first and only home, yet they're considered strangers on paper. So believe me, I'm very grateful for my citizenship, and I'm well aware of how privileged I am to be in that position. Okay, now we got a little sentimental here towards the end, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of reasons that came together to prompt our move to Germany as an intercultural couple, and it wasn't a sudden decision, but something we had planned for years. I hope I answered all of your questions now. Generally, please keep in mind that these are simply my reasons, or our reasons for moving to Germany and why we went about it the way we did. This is how it felt right for us, but other people do things differently and have different priorities when it comes to moving abroad, or in life in general. And that's totally okay. There is no right or wrong way to do these things. We all get to live our own lives and make our own decisions. That's the beauty of it all. well. Now, if you have any follow-up questions or any additional questions about our move that I haven't answered yet, please feel free to put them in the comments below. A big thank you to Ground News again for partnering with me on this video. And with that, I hope I'll see you next time. Tschüss!